Okay, sir. Then shall we start now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Good morning to all.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Respected speakers of today's webinar, Dr. B.G. Nagavi and Dr. Ramesh, and our former principal, Dr. C.V.S. Subramaniam, our vice principal, Dr. Gangaraju, and then our organizer of this event, Srinivas sir, and all our faculty members, students who have joined to this webinar and who are going to join to this webinar. Before starting the webinar, I would like to give, for those who have joined for the first time, I would like to give brief introduction about this webinar. As we all know, National Education Policy NEP 2020 has been already passed in the parliament and it is at the verge of implementation, and government of India is trying to implement and involve most of the people, all the institutes like schools to higher education institutes, universities, everybody into this program of NEP 2020, and the government wants to create an awareness about this program. When this program was passed in the parliament, many people have many questions about this. How is it going to work out in India? Because it looks like more or less US education system, and how is it going to work out in India is the main question. Because of this population, number of students, and many other factors are there. So that is one thing, and how it has to be implemented if we have to implement. So AICT being a major stakeholder of higher education or particularly technical education in India has taken up this task, and AICT has asked all the affiliated higher education institutes including universities to create awareness in the form of lectures or webinars or seminars, workshops, anything about NEP 2020 and how it can be implemented for different aspects. For example, in the different fields like engineering field, how we are going to do this in medical field, how we can integrate this NEP 2020, or in paramedical fields like pharmacy, nursing, and all, how we are going to integrate this NEP 2020. So that is the question, because of which now, since all the institutes are conducting this program, we have also taken the initiative. Last month, we had conducted one webinar online about NEP 2020 and its immediate important features. And now, today we have two more prominent speakers. One, Dr. B.G. Nagavi, and second is Dr. Ramesh. B.G. Nagavi, sir, is well-known person. He was principal of JSS College of Mysore, and then he was in KSA, Saudi Arabia, and then now he is back at Mysore. And Dr. Ramesh was earlier in Chitradurga, and now he is dean in Adi University, where he has free hand to implement this NEP 2020. So both these speakers are going to tell us about this NEP 2020 and how we can implement it in the field of pharmacy. And now I'd like to call our former principal, sir, Professor C.V.S. Subramaniam, to introduce the two speakers and start. Sir, stage is yours.
Good morning, every one of you. Thank you, Dr. Giriraj Kulkarni. On behalf of the Gokanath Rangaraju College of Pharmacy and also on behalf of staff and students, I welcome the today's speakers, Dr. B.G. Nagavi and B. Suresh, to this webinar. We are happy that they have readily accepted to interact with the staff members. Earlier, we had the first one who was represented by Osmania University. Today, we have B. Ramesh, who has represented Deemed University. And we have B.G. Nagavi, who has got international view about the education policy in West and other places. So, we have today we'll proceed on that. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Professor B. Ramesh. He is Dean Faculty of Pharmacy and also Principal of Sri Adi Chanchanagiri College of Pharmacy, Adi Chanchanagiri, the University at BG, that is again BGN, both are BGN, and it is in Karnataka state. He has obtained his PhD 2006 in pharmaceutical chemistry from Kuvempu University and M.Pharm from Bangalore University and B.Pharm from Gulbarga University. 32 years of experience and principal, he was there for last 14 years and above. And earlier, he has worked in 1977 to 2006 in SJM College of Pharmacy, Chitradurga. Before that, he was in Adi Chanchanagiri College, Chennarayapatna. It so happened that I have visited all these places wherever he worked, and I had a close association with him. He has awarded 2 PhD students and guided more than 12 PG students. He has attended 8 international and 20 national conferences. He had around above 44 research articles in various journals. In fact, he has been instrumental to develop this particular deemed university right from the first day he was there. In fact, I was very happy that when Nagavi sir has conducted Teachers' Day on this new education policy, your Vice Chandrasekhar Shetty sir has come and given deliberations. In fact, that was a very fruitful interaction. With these few remarks, I just invite you to address our staff and students for this new education policy from the perspective of deemed university, how it looks like. Thank you very much. I hand over the mic to B. Ramesh.
Thank you, Dr. Subramaniam sir. I take this opportunity to thank the organizers of GR College of Pharmacy. At the outset, my special thanks to the principal, Giriraj T. Kulkarni, who is a good friend of mine, and also the vice principal, Mr. M. Gangaraju, and the co-speaker, Dr. B.G. Nagavi. And as Professor CVS rightly pointed out, our Adi Chanchanagiri University is situated in BG Nagar, which is also called as BGN, and BG Nagavi is also BGN. And a small correction for Dr. CVS Subramaniam comment, ours is not deemed university, it's the state private university. Maybe this is third year, and whenever Dr. Nagavi is there, the next name will come B. Suresh. Obviously, he has mentioned, no worries. So in the next 10 to 15 minutes, first of all, I would like to thank Dr. CVS Subramaniam sir. He has taken a risk of inviting me to speak on NEP, and Giriraj Kulkarni in the beginning he said we have a university, we are already trying to implement, efforts are on, though we were busy with many of the academic activities and also yesterday's lockdown announcement by Government of Karnataka. We are crossing our fingers and exploring all the possibilities for teaching, learning activities to be continued in the online mode and such kind of things. So since 2 days, I am come back to my teaching line. I was searching for a few preparation of PowerPoint presentation. So from Paul, he has made to teacher again. Thanks for that initiation. Let me check whether the same teacher is still remaining in me. That's you to decide. So in the next 10-15 minutes, I will be giving you the bird's eye view of the National Education Policy 2020. I will share my screen.
Yes.
Hope my slides are visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, visible.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Uh, as we have, I think that this is on national education policy. I understand that this may be the third or fourth webinar session that is hosted by GR College of Pharmacy. The thing is, this national education policy did not come in overnight. They have started all the efforts from 2016, and they have come out with the draft by 2019. Lot of churning has taken place, and in 2020 they have announced this. The Ministry of Education has come out with the national education policy, and now they have also come out with the implementation plan for this educational national educational policy, and nationwide seminars, brainstorming sessions of involving all the stakeholders have been conducted. So this is just outline of national education policy. A disclaimer: this presentation is purely mine. That is nothing to do with the organization which I am working, University and College of Pharmacy. Coming to the vision of national education policy. The circle, the figure with the diagram which you see, that is the motif of the, that is called as Mobius strip. Which symbolizes the perpetual developing and live nature of the knowledge. So in the draft, they have used this motif that is commonly called as Mobius strip, symbolizes perpetual developing and live nature of the knowledge, that which has no beginning and which has no end. So this is education or policy. Though guidelines have been given, there is a various scope for the beginning and there is no end at all. So this is the main symbol of that motif. The national education policy envisions as India-centered education system that contributes directly to transforming our nation sustainably into equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all. And here, if we see the 21st century, 25th century's five flexibility, leadership, inclusiveness, productivity and social skills, and 21st century teaching skills, that is critical thinking, creativity, communication skill, collaboration, all these things are taken into care by this national education policies. As you know, in India, the GER enrollment issue is currently, as per the survey of 2018, it is 26% only. And the ambitious task of this NEP is that it should reach the 50%, that is gross enrollment ratio, by 2035. So the main focus of this NEP, I will be focusing on higher education only. I will not touch upon the school education system kind of things. And so these are the few important key principles of National Education Policy 2020. I will start one by one. As you know, in UNESCO has suggested in 1996, there are 4 pillars of education. Education must result in full development of human personality. The first task is learning to know and learning how to learn. And the second pillar is learning to do. That is to do with skill and competence. And third one is learning to live together. That is appreciation of interdependence and respecting the values of pluralism. And the fourth one is learning to be. So the first one, learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together. And the fourth one, learning to be, which is able to act with autonomy, judgment, and personal responsibilities. So keeping these 4 pillars of this 360-degree development of human personality as suggested by UNESCO in 1996 is an act. So now coming to one, the first one, for diversity and local context to be reflected in all curriculum. There is a flexibility in curriculum, pedagogy and andragogy and policy making also. The second one, equity and inclusion to become the cornerstones of the educational decisions. And third important aspect is community participation. The local community, which is there in to the nearest higher education, community participation and uplifting the philanthropic, private and community participation. And the fourth one, we are sitting in the era of effective communication, use of technology in teaching and learning, removing language barriers. So these are the few important key principles of national education policy. And fifth one is emphasize on conceptual understanding, learning for exams with no rote learning. And sixth one is unique capabilities by recognizing the tapping the potential of each of the student and boosting the critical thinking and creativity to boost the logical decision making and innovation in all the stakeholders, especially the students and faculty. Sustained research and regular assessment by educational expertise. So these are the few important areas of national education policy. And there are a lot of terminologies which we will come across if you go through the policy. There are a lot of terminologies. The gist of this recommendation of NEP is given by SSSA, that is State School Standards Authority, National Professional Standard for Teachers, NPST, teacher education reforms, working not in silos, use of technology, focusing on mother tongue and home language, the NCF, that is National Curriculum Framework, National Curriculum Framework for ECCE, that is early childhood care and education, SC school education, TE teachers education, and AE represents for adult education. This FLN mission represents the effective implementation of training placement activity and competent education. And also the PARAK is nothing but assessment, review and analysis of the knowledge for the holistic development. And there are so many exams reforms are also suggested. Hope all of you have gone through these recommendations of NEP. And NEP recommends for 3 category of institutions. That is, first one is as a research universities, and also as a teaching universities and autonomous colleges. So these are the 3 important categories of higher education institutions which NEP proposes. So apart from this, there are so many agencies like National Accreditation Agency, which is called as NAA, which is also known as the next one is Higher Education Grants Council for the grants of various projects and processes, and NHERA, that is National Higher Education Regulation Authority. So these are the few important abbreviations and that are recommended by NEP. And these are the National Curriculum Framework starting points. So these are by which year that has to be implemented. That is NCERT, that is National Educational Research and Training Institute. ET represents for early childhood care education. These are by which year these activities will be started. That is a guideline. I will rush through. And these are the aims of the ministry. So there are 4 key areas, important areas. The first one is reach and knowledge, ensures the policy reaches all stakeholders such as states, schools, teachers, parents, and communities. So aim of the Education Ministry, second one is planning broadly at central level, in detail at state level, in micro detail at organization level. So like this, NEP has to be effectively and efficiently has to be implemented. And third one is implementation part, devise a clear implementation strategy with the distinct responsibilities, timelines and outcomes at all levels. And we can plan many things, and we have try to implement also monitoring and mentoring is also becomes very important. Robust system, supportive guide, innovative projects, define goals and targets. These are the important key aspects which Education Ministry currently looking for under this NEP. And these are the, I will rush through the glimpses of National Education Policy. The quality universities and colleges, a new forward-looking vision for India's higher education system. So institutional restructuring and consolidation is planned under this heading. Optimal environment and support for the students, motivated and energized and capable faculty, equity and inclusions in higher education. So as you all know, higher education plays an extremely important role in promoting human as well as societal well-being in developing India as envisioned in its constitution. A democratic, just, socially conscious culture and a human nation upholding the liberty, equality, fraternity and justice for all. It is important that higher education significantly contributes towards the sustainable livelihood and economic development of the nation as India moves towards becoming a knowledge economy and society. More and more young Indians are likely to aspire to the higher education. The next is catalyzing the quality of academic research in all fields through a new National Research Foundation, that is NRF, National Research Foundation, and professional education and adult education, lifelong learning. This is also addressed at various levels, and transforming the regulatory system of higher education. So the effective governance and leadership for higher education institution, it has given a certain kind of autonomy also. So that, but the regulation is called as light but tight, a kind of regulation which they have suggested. And we will consider the opportunities for various stakeholders. Stakeholders means currently I consider it as state governments, higher education institutions, faculty, students and industry and other service providers. So in this slide, we will see the opportunities for the state governments, better outcome, monitoring the resources sharing as the policy will lead to consolidation of the highly fragmented higher education system into the clusters, improvised budgetary efficiency, which can be directed towards the enhancing the educational outcomes. So without any proper guidelines and government used to allocate the budget. Now there will be improved budgetary efficiency if it is properly implemented. And opportunities for higher education, the ease of starting and operating higher education institutions becomes easy. And the second one is increased academic and administrative autonomy to higher education, which results in quality enhancement, thereby causing both monetary and non-monetary benefits. And the next one is opportunities for expansion and increasing the enrollment in terms of ODL and online programs and branch campuses in other countries also. And the next one is enhanced opportunities for private higher education institutions to obtain research funding, owing to the emphasis on the merit-based and peer-reviewed funding processes. We will consider the opportunities for the faculty, you know, the better service environment the faculty with the proper structured curriculum and all those things. And the next one is career advancement opportunities for faculty through operationalization of career progression mechanisms, professional development opportunities and improved incentivization structures, and also inclusion of teaching courses and stints for PhD programs will be better prepare future faculty for a career in academia. And the faculty minimum career gap, As you know, the Swayam and Diksha platform are already in place. Teachers can make use of these online various MOOCs, and rationalization of teaching duties and greater autonomy to faculty to design curricular and pedagogical approaches will lead to improved teaching outcomes. Also, reduced focus on non-academic work will allow the faculty to give more time for student support and research activities. So coming to the important stakeholders, the opportunities for students, more opportunity to enter the higher education system through enhanced scholarships, ODL and online degree programs that permit remote students also, greater flexibility, digitally stored credits, students can opt for the credit transfer, which will be stored digitally, hands-on learning and practical exposure, that is also a key important opportunity for the student, and improved transparency by higher education institutions that will also causes a lot of convenience to the student, reduced pressure on the students through the introduction of common entrance examination. So now currently we have so many entrance examination. In coming days, I think this will be minimalized or at least to the one. Global exposure they can for Indian students through exchange programs and setting up of foreign universities branch campuses in India is also enhances the teaching learning activities of the students. And the last stakeholder, that is industry and other service providers, collaboration opportunity for industry players in blockchain, artificial intelligence and production analytics. Emphasis laid on monitoring and evaluation calls for building strong data layers and technology solutions. The next one is system-wide ICT transformation leads to potential for private sector participation and opportunity for financial services players and financial technology, and the opportunities for industrial participation in research, co-delivering short-term skill certificates, partnering in creation of other universities. So I would like to highlight upon the activities which we have initiated with our stakeholder like HESDA. So in our university, we have started conducting the various faculty development program by using the latest ICTs. Thanks to BG Nagavi, we have conducted few already such kind of activities with their expertise, and future coming days, we will be extending it to the students also. So and the next one is opportunities for the private sector to be involved as expert, setting up an operationalization and national education technology forum, which is abbreviated as NETF. So as I have told you, the motifs of Mobius strip, which is used in the draft, you can see, visualize that it symbolizes the perpetual developing and live nature of the knowledge, that which has no beginning and that which has no end. So that is the important aspect of this national educational policy. And the NEP 2020 is expected to put India on the track to attain the goal of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development by ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunity for all the next decade. And policy also envisages creation, transmission, use and dissemination of knowledge as a part of continuum. So this is a brief the gist of the national education policy. I have a 2 minutes video. I think I can play this. Can I?
Yes, yes.
Thank you for patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, then yeah, you have raised a very important aspects regarding new education policy. We have to think a lot about lifelong learning, how a colleges or universities will take care. And it is a serious task from 20% on enrollment to 50% enrollment means with all these developments, we could achieve only 20% till now, and we are expected to increase to 50% is really so powerful. I mean, yeah, we will continue for the next speaker, and then at the end, we invite all the participants to record their questions in the is called a chat box, so that we will read at the end and try to answer them as much as possible. Otherwise, we can have a personal contact with them. Okay, Ramesh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. We will move on to the next speaker, Dr. B.G. Nagavi, who has been an international exposure, and he is a person who is always building education is his hobby. In fact, he was at present for CEO for
Hello, Krishna.
yes, Exar, Mysore, and he was earlier professor and founding dean of Rasal Khaimer College of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Rasal Khaimer Medical and Health Services University, Rasal Khaimer in UAE. And he had experience in attending various international inspections that are equivalent to NBA and NAC accreditations. He has been in various boards, director of Asian Association of Schools of Pharmacy, member of academic section of International Pharmaceutical Federation, etc. And he has been a lot of things. First, to his credit, in India, M.Pharm Industrial Pharmacy subject as well as syllabus is first framed by him, and M.Pharm Basic Drugs Production, Bulk Drugs Production is the branch that was started by him, and the pharmacy practice what we talk about now, PharmD, etc., is originally again introduced by him. Even community pharmacy has also introduced by him. And more than that, after Gundu left, he has taken the charge of editor of APTA journal, Indian ISPER, and he has led this particular journal to a higher level by including scientific papers also into that. He is a distinguished teacher, award of APTA in 1998. He has got one patent and one trademark. In fact, several things are there. When he was in Rasal Khaimer, I attended his medical university when I went to Dubai International Conference. In fact, our journey is quite long. We all started the college as a lecturer in Jain Medical College. We were together in Manipa, Pilani, and we were also together in regional research laboratories in Jammu. From that particular one, he has taken the reins of JSS Mysore, JSS College of Pharmacy, and brought it to different levels, B.Pharm, M.Pharm, PhD, almost like. And the current building, which always considered as a monument in pharmacy colleges, has been his brainchild, and he has developed that particular college. In fact, we all remember him, and more importantly, he is a very good administrator, and he knows how to activate these teachers and get them onto the path of for their progress. In fact, we had a long association. Even after that, also for last 4 years, he has been doing a lot of service to improve the capabilities of teaching as well as personality improvement. With these few remarks, on behalf of Gokaraj Rangaraju College of Pharmacy, I invite him to this particular webinar. I'm very happy. He visited our college when he was at Reisalkheimer. And last year also we had listened to him that how he has produced modules to improve our teaching methodology. With this view, I hand over the mic to Dr. B.G. Nagavi. Please, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Subramaniam. Am I audible and visible? Hello?
Yeah, you are.
Yes, sir. Perfect. Perfect.
Yes.
I will just switch off the video if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. That is okay.
Is it okay, or let it be there? Let's see how it goes. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. 1 second. You can see the first slide.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Good morning to each one of you. We have 15 minutes to 12. Good morning to each one of you. I would like to thank Dr. CVS Subramaniam, my very good old friend and colleague, and we were, working together in Pilani in JNMC, as he mentioned. Thank you, Subramaniam, for this opportunity. Only one word, if I have to tell about Subramaniam, he is very committed, disciplined teacher and very authoritative speaker in his own areas of expertise. I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to Giriraj Kulkarni and Vice Principal M. Gangaraju. I would also like to thank and also say greetings to Dr. Ramesh from Adi Chunchanagiri University for joining in this session. I see Dr. Jayashekaran has joined from Trivandrum. Good morning to you, Dr. Jayashekaran. Jayashekaran has a good international experience also. He was in Oman and he has come back to Trivandrum. And good morning to each one of the participants. I cannot name each one of you, so please accept my compliments. This is my title. I have given National Education Policy 2020, Professional Perspectives for the Development, as
I'm not able to see the slide.
You are not able to see the slide?
No.
1 minute. I will stop.
Please upload once again.
1 second. Let me see what is happening. Okay, present now. 1 second.
Present.
Window. 1 second. Yeah, share. Now can you see?
Yes, coming, I think.
Yeah.
No.
It is visible, sir.
It is visible, huh?
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
This is the first slide about HESDART.
Bandwidth problem.
Can you see my second slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We are seeing a second slide with your photograph.
Yes, sir. That is
Yes,
the
sir.
slide, sir. So
Yeah.
some of you who are not able to see, please bear with me. I think some technology issues may be there with Is it okay? Can I move on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As Dr. Ramesh and Subramaniam mentioned, we had organized, HESDARC has organized a first webinar with about 5 or 6 vice chancellors and the president of the Pharmacy Council of India on 5th September 2020, which 5th September happens to be the foundation day of our HESDAR center in Mysore. It went well. Now I see that some activities are there, and Dr. Subramaniam and his team taken it as a responsibility to create awareness and motivate and inform people to raise their levels and raise their bars and increase the higher education quality and things like that. These are my quick presentation objectives. Since it's already 10 minutes to 12 o'clock, I intend to speak only for about 20-25 minutes. Then I will leave 15-20 minutes for discussion. Anybody who wants to ask question, please write down your question, pose it to me or to Ramesh. We'll do our best. Mine is going to be some sort of a rapid fire round. I have almost 60-70 slides. So I'm not going to show all the slides to you. Be prepared for that. And I'm not going to read all the slides. and I am not going to inform you. My objective is not to inform you. My objective is to kindle your thinking and make you think about the new education policy. The new education policy is already available in the soft form. It's about 500 pages, and 50 to 60 pages of summary is also available. You can see it in the Google. You can search and you can download it and read. I have a special request to Dr. Subramaniam and the principal of the college. Kindly print 2 copies of the new education policy. Keep one in the principal's office for rotation to the faculties who want to read, and please keep 1 copy in the library, hard copy in the library. This is my personal request. And if there are other faculties from other colleges or the principals, please print 2 copies of new education policy, because this should be a new reference material, sort of a Bible for us in the next few years or a decade to go, because new education policy has put forward so many things there. Incidentally, new education policy and the COVID 2019 or 2020 have come almost simultaneously. I only hope that new education policy becomes also an epidemic and becomes a tsunami and spreads in all the institutions of lower education, higher education, professional education in the country, so that everybody is awakened and everybody is, has to tighten its belt. It's not that it's only the responsibility of the central government or the state government. It is everybody's responsibility, including the responsibility of the students, responsibility of the faculties, responsibilities of the principals, responsibility of the management, and responsibility of the regulators. I will show you as we go along. I have put here a few objectives for my presentation. I always try to put some objectives so that there is a very clear purpose of what I am doing and why you are in front of me and virtually with me to listen. I will explain you the key elements of NEP. I'll describe the key messages and statements of intent that NEP makes. I'll list a few important critical issues at hand for pharmacy education, because Subramaniam said, please talk about its relevance to pharmacy education. I will propose how to go about NEP implementation during 21, 22 to 20, 31 in the pharmacy education. And I will also list the responsibilities of yours as students, faculties, principals, and administrators, and the regulators, if there is anybody here. We will also tell you the politics that is going to play around this NEP also in the end. This is the current state, satirically current state of higher education in our country. The whole burden is on the students, as you see. The universities are interested in only taking the fees and the money and leave it to the institutions to implement. Teacher, for some reason or the other, puts the whole responsibility on the students, and it has become more relevant in the new year after COVID 2020 or 2019, where there are online education, engagement is a challenge, teaching is a challenge, and conducting assessment is a challenge. But today's satirically, this shows what is the case of study today. It's left to the student more. Unfortunately, in the last 200 years, education in the country has been completely modified or turned around by Macaulay in 1835. And in the last 200 years, or 190 years or 185 years, our education has gone very bad to worst now. What we had, Gurukula system of education, where we are talking about truth, this, that, the human values all have gone, and we are doing, the institutions have become only information centers, which intentionally Macaulay did it for the British government in order to spoil the backbone of the education system in India. If you want to rewrite the education system, redo, we have to bring back our old Gurukula system of education with a modern touch there, and we have to rebuild our education from scratch. That's what the government of India is trying to achieve, and it's our responsibility to contribute. It's your responsibility to contribute as a responsible citizen of the country.
Excuse me, sir, your slides are not changing. Sorry for the disturbance.
I don't know. I have changed here, sir. What do you want me to do? Which slide you are seeing now?
Second slide only.
I don't know. I have changed it.
And you are talking about, I think, 4th or 5th slide.
Yeah, but I don't know what is happening. Can you help me? I will stop sharing and reshare, okay?
Sir, no, sir. You can bring it in the presentation mode. Most probably it was not in the presentation mode.
You see, I'm going to present now, okay?
Okay, sir.
So present now, I'll see my entire screen. I'm clicking on my screen. It says now share.
Yeah.
Okay, just 1 second. You are presenting your screen, it says now.
Mm.
Are you seeing my screen by chance?
Yeah, we are seeing your screen, sir.
But I am not able to see.
Oh,
I am not able to my own screen now. You are presenting to everyone, it says, but not able to see my screen.
Sir, now you
sir.
1 second, 1 second. Let me go back and see what happened.
You just increase the size.
I'm not able to see my screen, sir.
Sir, no issue.
most
Sir, no
probably
issue.
you are-
Directly you can open your PPT, sir.
Yeah, I see the PPT is open now.
Yeah. Okay, you
Now
can
it is
right, sir.
visible, sir.
Now you can go. Now you can go for clicking on respect to PPT, sir. Whatever you want to explain.
Or
Either
you
it is
can,
Are you seeing my fourth PPT now?
It is with,
that photograph. Why are Indian graduates unemployable?
Okay, you are able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Is it in the full screen or half screen?
It is actually in the editing mode, sir, not in the presentation.
That's what I am now going to the full mode, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay.
What about
No,
Yeah,
no,
now
now?
it
clear,
is
sir.
visible, sir. Fine.
It's okay now?
Visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, I will go back
Thank
and just to show the slide. You can see the previous slide.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is what I was telling to you that what Lord Macaulay did in 1835, he rewrote the whole education system to make clerks only in this country. He didn't want very elite and people who are very patriotic, who are committed to their country. He wanted clerks to be made for the British government. That's what is happening even today. We have to rewrite that. Please think about that. That's my message. See, today's education system is producing graduates like this, who for one job you get 100 applications. This is the problem. This is happening because education has become a mere business. I am not against business. It has to become a professional business as it is internationally, and there must be a proper return on investment. We have to produce people who can become job makers, job producers, not just job seekers. We have to produce people who are employable. Today's tragedy is that we are producing graduates who are unemployable. Tech Mahindra managing director mentioned several years back that 95% of the graduates who come out of the engineering colleges are not employable. That is why this kind of a crowd, when you interview people, you know that people are not employable. They have degree, they have certificate, but they do not know what to do. That is the tragedy, and we need to change that. And the government of India and the new education policy has attempted to do this. Why these presentations? Questions for state governments, regulators, and yes, I'll try to put here a few questions, okay? What is the responsibility of the government and regulators to meet the aspirations of NEP? Somebody has to ask them, what are you planning to address the issue of achieving quality and accountability that the NEP does? You have to ask questions. People have to ask questions. How do you plan to implement ethics, creativity, and flexibility in higher education? Where is the plan? What is the specific plan to produce job creators and not job seekers? Because the NEP says we want to make more job creators, not just run the down mill like a factory you run and give degrees and diplomas, leave hundreds of them on the street. What are the structural changes that the government and regulators foresee in their regulations? Because the NEP has been made in good intention by the central government. It is an act now. It is for the state governments and the universities to implement now. Where are the discussions? Where are the policies? Where are the changes? That some discussions have been held here and there, I know, but more is needed to be done by everybody. That is why I am trying to do my best here. How will NEP impact higher education with reference to online learning, hybrid learning, ODL? ODL is open distance learning. What are your plans to implement this in higher education, in professional education, and in pharmacy education? You have to ask these questions to yourself, your colleagues, your principals, your HODs, your administration, and to the universities and the regulators. What are the implementation challenges? As you know, In our country, always the problem is implementation. We are very good in talking, we are very good in writing documents, but how are you going to implement? Internationally, people write documents and they will implement it. In our country, of course, we have a lot of challenges. It's a very large country. Things are not easy because education is a state subject. Please remember that. Education is a state subject. It's not a central subject. It is central as well as state subject. Now that the central government has done its responsibility, it is the state governments, universities, institutions, deemed universities, colleges to fall in line. It is up to them. That's where the politics will start. Politics has not yet begun. I will show you what politics will also be played. What is really implementable according to you? Have anybody asked what is really implementable? It's a huge document. It's only a document of intent. What is going to be implemented? Who has asked? Have you asked yourself? Have you asked your colleagues? Universities are temples of wisdom, not information factories or information shops. Please remember, this is very, very important. Institutions have become information shops. They give information. No, they are temples of wisdom. There is a difference between information and wisdom. Information is just gaining knowledge. Wisdom is going critically thinking and able to solve a particular problem and working with everybody, as Dr. Ramesh said, working together to win together. Yes, I'm going to just highlight in a couple of minutes. National education policy talks quite a lot about multidisciplinary universities, graded institutional autonomy, curriculum revamp and overhaul the system, new regulatory mechanism to match with global universities. See, they want a regulatory mechanism to match with the global universities. Who is going to write the regulatory mechanism? It's not the central government which is going to write. It is for the universities and the state governments to write. Where is the draft? Who has seen that? This is the question you have to ask. National education policy, if in a crux, if I have to summarize in one slide, these are the 5 things that it wants to achieve, which are different than what it was earlier in the old education policies. It wants to improve access to education, equity in education, inclusivity in education, affordability of education, and accountability of education on the one hand. And on the other hand, it wants to bring in value-based education. It is ethical education as the foundation, skill development as the foundation, problem-based learning, theme-based learning as the foundation, development of leadership in the students. This can happen only if there is a leadership in our institutions and in our faculties. It wants to inculcate critical thinking, which is necessary for problem solving. Please see this against what is happening in our institutions, what is there in our regulation. I think there is miles and miles and kilometers to go. Value-based education is not there formally, but it has given you a plan. Skill development is there, but it has to be maximized. We have to inculcate problem-solving abilities in our students in a structured manner. We have to bring in leadership in our students and faculties in a structured manner. Just delivering a lecture is not enough. Critical thinking, it has to be put into our curriculum. That's what it says. Now, new education policy talks about good governance, role of institutions, role of academic leaders and faculties, transforming regulatory system. It talks about experiential education, teacher education, open online education and ODL, higher education access, equity. These are the chapters. I have just written the headers. Re-energizing higher education and the roadmap. It aims to develop good, thoughtful, well-rounded and creative individuals. I think I have to stop here. I want you to think. Is it there in today's? Are we developing good individuals? Are we developing thoughtful individuals? Are we developing well-rounded graduates and postgraduates and research scholars? Are we developing creative individuals? My answer is not totally negative, yes, but it is not enough in the 21st century. We are developing good individuals, but we need to develop more. We are making few thoughtful people. No, we have to make more. We have to make more creative individuals, then only they can provide jobs, not with 5% and 10%. No, 95% of our graduates who go out must be good, must be thoughtful, must be well-rounded, and must be creative. It says, develop character, ethical and constitutional values, intellectual curiosity, scientific thinker, creativity, and the spirit of service. Please think. I want you to think. I am not here to give you solutions. I want you to think. Success without integrity is failure. You think yourself, is there integrity in higher education today? I am focusing only higher education, professional education. I know this, you know this, that integrity is there. It's again, I don't want to make a negative statement, but it is far from satisfactory. When we talk about integrity, we talk of integrity of the individual students, we talk of the faculty, the institution, data integrity, assessment integrity, everywhere the integrity, because if that is the foundation, educational institution, if we are doing so many things and giving degrees, diplomas, without integrity imbibed in the student, I think it is not a successful education. Now, I will spend 5 minutes to tell you how this is all written in the higher education, new education policy. I have not written it. That said, what are the challenges or problems of our higher education system today, for which we have to find solutions. So higher education ecosystem is highly fragmented higher educational ecosystem. If you don't understand any words, please note down, write a question, I will try to answer. There is a less emphasis on the development of cognitive skills and learning outcomes. Cognitive skill means developing this, doing things with hand. Skills with the hand, doing practicals and doing more things, not just cognitive things, not just knowledge, but it has to be transferred into skills. Cognitive skills, cognitive skills, and affective skills. 3 skills are there. And learning outcomes. We don't see learning outcomes at all. Here and there little, but they are not satisfactory. So in fact, HESDAR Center has taken it on itself. Our main objective is to do only 2 or 3 things in the rest of my career and rest of my life. Number 1, implement Bloom's taxonomy and learning outcome, and inculcate and introduce formally problem-based learning in the students, which helps them to problem solving and critical thinking. A rigid separation of disciplines with early specialization, streaming of students into narrow areas of study. There is a lot of compartmentalization, focusing, and they have forgotten. Everybody lives in a silos. New education policy wants breaking of the silos and team learning and everybody working together. As Ramesh mentioned, they want to even higher education institution to teach in local languages. In fact, I foresee the diploma education in pharmacy must be taught in local languages, in Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, Marathi, etc., because a lot of these students, 90% of them work in their own states, go back and work there. So local language in the future, I'm sure it will all come. It talks about limited teacher and institutional autonomy today, and it wants to give more autonomy to that. How to do that? That is a very $1,000,000 question that you have to ask. Inadequate mechanisms for merit-based career management and progression of faculty and institutional leaders, which Professor Ramesh has already emphasized. Lesser emphasis on research at most universities and colleges. Here again, there is a problem. Therefore, NEP has divided institutions into teaching university, a research university, and an autonomous college. I think there is a slide there. Suboptimal governance and leadership of higher education institution. If there is one problem that our higher education institutions, including pharmacy institutions, are suffering, is the lack of leadership. Without a second thought, I can tell you there is a lack of leadership in our higher education institutions, in the institutions of pharmacy and also engineering, etc., etc. Because if the leader is good, automatically the institution is good. Ineffective regulatory system. This is what I am saying. This is what the NEP says. Ineffective regulatory system and large affiliating universities resulting in low standards and of higher education. So it talks about multidisciplinary universities. It talks about revamping the curriculum, reaffirming the integrity of faculty and institutional leadership, establishment of National Research Foundation, which Ramesh mentioned. It talks about governance and making independent boards and administrative autonomy, light but tight regulation, as it was mentioned. It wants to increase access. Higher education institution clusters will be made in the future, knowledge hubs, each of which will aim to have 3,000 or more students. If an institution has only 500 or 600 students, it is not going to sustain, it cannot survive. It has to become either an autonomous college with multidisciplinary activities with a student strength of at least 3,000 and above. Universities, unitary universities like a health science university, technical university will all be dismantled. They have to become all multidisciplinary universities. Moving to large multidisciplinary university, that's exactly what I mentioned to you. A stage-wise mechanism for granting graded autonomy to colleges is already written there, and the central government is doing its best to introduce. By 2040, all higher education institutions shall aim to become multidisciplinary institutions. HIEIs will firstly plan to become multidisciplinary by 2030. That means we have 8 years more. 2021 is gone in the pandemic, 22 to 2030. And the planning has to begin now. It must begin today. It should have begun yesterday, but it has not happened. So you cannot wait for it anymore. New regulatory system envisioned by policy will foster this overall culture of empowerment and autonomy. Wonderful. Please remember this word, empowerment. This is what is not there in our higher education, including pharmacy education. People emphasize this is necessary, that is necessary. They authorize you and they empower you also. They don't empower, they enrich you and they encourage you. But there is no empowerment. Now, new education policy. Empowerment means, flexibility, giving you autonomy to bring in changes within the system without anybody's approval. You are free to design your syllabus, free to decide your overall assessment criterion, a new course with ease like this. Of course, this goes with a caveat that the college which is doing that, university which is doing that, has to have an established mechanism. It should be accredited. It should show that it is for quality and things like that. Otherwise, in this country, everything will go for a toss. Affiliated college system is going to be abandoned in the next 15 years. There is not going to be an affiliated college. If you are an affiliated college to JNTU, forget about it. By 2030, you cannot be. Either you have to shut your doors or you have to become a autonomous college with multidisciplinary approach, 3,000 students and more, or you have to become a university, deemed university, state university or private university, or you have in that two categories. One is an undergraduate teaching university and a research focused university. Yes, university worldwide means multidisciplinary. Unfortunately, in India, we started having these deemed universities. I was opposing this health science university way back in 96, 97 when it was made. But the voice, as usual, couple of voices are not heard and the majority rules. And they said now they are all crying that this is problem, that is problem. As you are facing with JNTU, they are placing with Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, many such universities. This is our education system today. This is not I am saying, this is what Albert Einstein said. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. So here there is a teacher, these are the students. They are in different forms and shapes, like our students. Our students have, see, there is a monkey here, there is a penguin, there is an elephant, there is a fish, etc. If you ask them, the question here is, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam as we are doing. Everybody has to save the question paper, MCQ. Everybody has to take the 3 hours written exam. Everybody has to take the same practical. That is where the problem, big problem is. Our assessments are not appropriate. The question here is, please climb that tree. The teacher is saying, all of you, please climb that tree and show it to me. How can an elephant will climb the tree? How can fish will climb the tree? They have different abilities. Similarly, in our students, they have different abilities. Somebody is good in knowledge. Somebody is good in research. Somebody is good in practical skills. Somebody is good in marketing skills. Somebody is good in administrative skills. We need to identify and make them blossom. This is what Vivekananda said centuries back. Educe, the word education comes from the word educe. Educe, to draw out the best in the individual. Unfortunately, there is nothing to draw out in our education system. Sorry to say, very little. It draws out, but very little. We need to do that more by identifying the strength of the students and allowing them to blossom in that direction. Somebody whom you are teaching in the classroom may not be a good pharmacy student at all, but he may be an excellent singer. He may be an excellent dancer. He may be an excellent speaker. You need to see how we have to help him to become that. That's what it means. Yes, more holistic and disciplinary outcomes. I'm again not, I have to close in another 5 minutes. I'm sorry. It talks about value-based education. It gives universal truth. These are all mentioned in the new education policy. This has been taken from Satya Sai Institution. Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, Ahimsa. These are the 5 pillars. Have been taken directly from Satya Sai institutions, with which I have been associated since 1980 for the last 40 years and more. This is written in the new education policy. Please think about that. How you can inculcate these values in your students: truth, righteousness, peace, love, and non-violence. undergraduate degree will be either 3 or 4 years duration, and it talks about laddering, that if a student discontinues after 2 years, he must get a diploma. If the student discontinues after 4 years, must get a degree. If he discontinues after 6 years, must get a post-graduation like BINGAT. It talks about flexibility is the key. You see, if you see flexibility as the key, and today's what is situation, today what is the key? Can somebody tell me? Subramaniam? Hello? Hello, gentlemen.
Here,
Are you with me?
I am here. I am here.
What is the key? Today?
Yeah.
What is the key today? Against flexibility, what is the key today?
Presently it is rigid.
Thank you.
Highly
All
rigid.
the same pipe.
Yes, you have told the word, sir. Thank you very much. I think it's Kulkarni, eh?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Rigidity is the key. Rigidity is the key. I am giving you this syllabus. Teach this. Don't talk more. This is the assessment criterion. Please do this. That's the key. Now we need to change that. And new education policy is empowering you to do that. It is documented there, written there. Work on that. Insist on that. What is the flexibility is the key? The key is simple. You should be able to, of course, not for everybody, please. One size doesn't fit all. Wherever there is eligibility. See, pharmacy education, for your information, is more than 90 years old, 92 years, 2028, we are going to celebrate our centenary. 1918 to 22, the first batch came out. If you assume 1922 is the first batch. No, I think I am not getting the correct figure. Subramaniam, do you remember? Is it 19? I think it's 1928-32. Correct. Yeah, I got it now. You can go and check it. 1928, the first institution of pharmacy was started in Banaras Hindu University as a BSc pharmacy by none other than whom we call as the father of Indian pharmacy education, Professor Mahadev Lal Shroff. And the batch came out in 1932 or 31. So 2028, 6 years or 7 years from now, we have to celebrate the centenary of pharmacy education in India. So we have to give autonomy, flexibility, empower, allow people to do. There are people, 90% people are there who are capable, who are eligible, who can bring the change. Only thing is we have to release them. We have to liberalize them. We have to give them controlled autonomy. I'm not saying give everybody autonomy, no, because in this country, more will be misused, then there will be big chaos. No, controlled autonomy to institutions which are credible, like which are accredited, who have more than 25 years of standing, 50 years of standing. Allow them to do diploma at least. Why you have to give them a syllabus? Let them decide what is important to them. Local language, no local language. Decide the syllabus. Then you will see the game altogether changing. There will be so much of competition to do good. Why can't get it? The more I get close, the more it goes. I am tired of it. This education for all, higher education, quality education is also a mirage according to me, which we have to chase and keep on chasing it, because as Ramesh said, education is not a static system. It's a dynamic system. All right. Need-based research, motivated capability, institutional leadership, teacher education. It talks about transforming regulatory through various mechanisms. Higher Education Commission of India is already established. National Higher Education Regulatory Council will be established now. So I will tell you, there is only one place where the pharmacy is mentioned in the new education policy. NAC was already there. It has been replaced by National Accreditation Council. Instead of National Assessment and Accreditation Council, it's called National Accreditation Council. Higher Education Grants Council, there is going to be only one council which is going to give grant to everybody who deserves. General Education Council, which take care of, will frame expected learning outcomes for higher education programs. Read this carefully. Also referred to as graduate attributes. General Education Council is supposed to give, and it talks about National Higher Education Qualification Framework. There is no time to talk about this. This is very, very important. I have not seen it very systematically in the Indian scenario. I have seen it in the international scenario. This is extremely important. It talks about professional standards setting body. Pharmacy Council of India, in my opinion, or Veterinary Council of India, Council of Architecture will become professional standard setting bodies. Only two bodies they have not disturbed in the national education policy. One is the medical education, another one is the law education. Rest of them have to undergo thorough change. Use of technology to reduce human interface. I do not know how it is going to be done, because I have seen institutions where there are no computers. If there are computers there, they are not working. If they are working, the bandwidth is not sufficient. If the bandwidth is there, the power is not there. So many problems you have. You think about your own institution and others where you have gone. We have a huge problem here, because we need resources. We have to divert our budgets properly. We have to develop credible systems, because this is the system of the future. Okay, curbing commercialization of education. I'm not, I have a slightly different opinion here. I'm not for completely curbing commercialization of education. Commercialization is necessary, but it should be done professionally. There must be a proper return on investment. Money is needed, otherwise you cannot run the institutions of higher education. As you know, 80% of the institutions are in the private management. They need money. Where will the money come from? Money should come, but it should flow properly into the system for the development of the students, faculties, institutions, research, library, etc. Of course, they should not be exploitative and do it only for the commercial purpose. It should be with a social, professional commercialization of education is necessary. Because, you know, we are in education business. Please let me remember you, Harvard and Princeton in United States say we are in higher education business. There is nothing wrong in saying higher education business, but you have to do professional business. You have to be on board. Your activities, you have to be on the table. Nothing can go without the scrutiny of the public and the students. You have to disclose transparent public disclosure mechanism, especially about the financial matters. Governance and leadership, it talks. Board of governance. A well-educated mind will always, this is what Helen Keller said. As I told you, I want you to make think. I am not here to just give you information. No, sir. My objective is to give you little information. I want to motivate you to think. I want to inspire you to think. I want you to think about the new education policy, what the policy you are in and how to change that. A well-educated mind will always have more questions than answers. Do you have questions in your mind about new education policy? Then you are on board with me. If you do not have questions about new education policy, sorry, you are far away from implementing and thinking about new education policy. It talks about professional education. It talks about higher professional education, because I want to tell you, it talks about healthcare education. This is where the pharmacy is there. Pharmacy is not mentioned in the health care education, for your information. It is mentioned in the technical education. Technical education, according to NEP 2020, includes degree and diploma programs in engineering, technology, management, architecture, town planning, pharmacy, hotel management, catering technology, etc., which are critical to India's overall. Pharmacy being a very typical higher education and professional education, it comes, according to me, partly in technical education as well as in health education. I have recommended in the end that we must bifurcate our education into two. One is healthcare, that's our PharmD, that's your diploma in pharmacy, that's your baccalaureate PharmD, etc. should come there. Your B Pharm, M Pharm, so specializations which are industry oriented should come in technical education. And now, you know, already the responsibility of, as of now, the pharmacy education has been entrusted with the Pharmacy Council of India, though there are cases like this and that, but there is a order that it is with the pharmacy education. So it is for us to move forward how you go. Integration of technology, online digital education, it talks a lot, online education, blended learning, strengthening the Central Advisory Board, Ministry of Education, yes. As you know, MHRD was there. It has been renamed only as Ministry of Education now. Yes. What we need, friends, is focus. Focus on new education policy. What is relevant to us? What is relevant to me? What is relevant to this? How can I implement? How can I guide others to implement? How can we do as an institution? How can we do as an university? How can we do as a profession? So focus means follow one course until successful. So catch hold of 2 or 3 things. New education policies, according to me, catch hold of 2 or 3 things. The next 5 years, 10 years, please implement them. I'm going to give you some suggestion to this. Questions which I had already put there, I have re-put them here. What are your plans that PCI as a regulator or the governments are planning? How are you going to achieve quality and accountability? These are questions you have to ask to state government regulators and universities and institutions. Specific plans to produce job creators, not job seekers. What structural changes PCI foresees in the regulations to achieve NEP 2020? What are the implementation challenges? Because we have, it's not so easy that there are going to be challenges, but let's take something and do it together as a team, and it's possible. Yes, it's Abraham Lincoln who has said the best way to predict your future is to create it. I hope I'm making a message very clear here. The future of pharmacy education is not in the NEP. It is not with regulator. It is not with your university. It is not just with your college. It is not with one faculty. It's with all of us and all of you. Go home with this message. The responsibility is with you, individual faculties and institution leaders especially, that we have to create our own future. At least you have to talk like that. Vocalize it. Then somebody will hear. Then this voice will reach your college corridors. From college corridors, it will go to university corridors. Then it will go to the state government corridors. Then it will go to the national level corridors. If you want to go internationally, as it is written in the new education policy, they want our universities to be in par with international universities. Let me tell you, we are at least 20, 25, 30 years away from there. Because I worked for more than 11 years, 12 years in an international university as a founding dean, and with complete American standards. Not that we are bad. No, don't go with that impression. We are definitely good. But to come to international standards, we have to do certain things differently. That's where the flexibility comes. In America and UAE, there is nothing like an affiliating university at all. You are not affiliated to anybody. If you are a college or a university, you decide your degrees. They will give you some broad learning outcomes. That's it. You decide. You jump in. You drive. You motivate yourself. You make admissions. You draw your set of assessment standards. You give your certificates. That's what is going to happen in the future. What to do? Yes, this is very important. I want to spend a couple of minutes and close. Revamp and strengthen PCI as a facilitator of higher education, pharmacy education, not just a regulator of pharmacy education and practice. Please think about this. It can be discussed more. What do you mean by facilitator and all? That needs more discussion. Decentralize and separate education and practice as it is there internationally. Medical education is separate and medical practice is separate. Similarly, we have to do pharmacy education separate and practice separate. Pharmacy education, especially, I mean technical education. Practice, I mean professional education. Please think about it. Give more graded and complete autonomy to institutions, universities which are accredited, at least diploma in education, liberate DPharm education and give full autonomy to institutions which are accredited. These are my thoughts which I have been thinking. I thought, let me vocalize and tell. If it is worth, please think about it, spread about it. Let's work for that. If you are an institution, if you are a 50-year-old institution, if you are not able to run your diploma in pharmacy education on your own, I think there is some problem here. Please think about that. Strengthen DPharm, especially skill development and service orientation, and implement PP guidelines 2015 implementation. For your information, I don't know how many of you are aware, the PCI has published Pharmacy Practice Guideline 2015, which is 6 years old now. We did a small survey in Mysore. What is the awareness about pharmacy practice guidelines amongst the teachers, amongst the students, amongst the community pharmacies in Mysore? Pathetically, 90% of the people do not know what is Pharmacy Practice Guideline 2015 of the Pharmacy Council of India. Forget about its implementation. Community pharmacies, medical shop fellows do not even know. Only 2%, 5% of them little. There are 15 points, approximately 14, 15 points given there, what the community pharmacist has to do in the medical shop, so-called. But people are not even aware. Forget about its implementation. That is our problem, and we keep on crying that pharmacy is not recognized. Oh, I don't have any recognition. Nobody understands me. Nobody wants to listen to me. Unless you provide service. This is what I used to tell 20 years before. If you want to make a mark as a practitioner, if you want people to recognize, provide surveys to the patients. If you want to be recognized as a clinical pharmacist and a hospital pharmacist, then the recognition will come to you. Similarly, if we want to make a public, in public awareness, we have to strengthen our community pharmacies and the medical shops. See that the pharmacy practice guidelines are implemented, which is 6 years old. People are not even aware what to talk about your new education policy. Strong structural changes are needed, not customary changes in the process. Roadmap for 10 years with smart outcomes. So These are the challenges of pharmacy education: fragmented pharmacy educational ecosystem, less emphasis on the development of cognitive skills, rigid separation of disciplines, teaching in local language, especially D-Pharma, limited teacher and institutional autonomy, lack of competitive peer-reviewed research funding across disciplines, suboptimal, suboptimal governance and leadership of institutions, ineffective regulatory system, large affiliating universities and colleges resulting in low standards of undergraduate education, ineffective governance at various levels, local, regional, and national. Harvard Business School says it manufactures leaders. They are in higher education industry. Can you make this bold statement, any one of you? I want to hear that. Sir, as an university, as a college, we are in the manufacturing of leaders. I know you are training people to manufacture medicines. Can you manufacture leaders? Can you call yourself a higher education industry like Harvard Business School calls and become really one like that? Then you are raising your bar to national level and international level. I will tell you now. Yeah, I mentioned to you 3 types of universities will be there in the future: research university, teaching university, autonomous college, affiliated college will have to be wound up. Yes, this is a very important slide, last but one slide. We are going to be into the NEP and the stakeholder game or politics. When we talk about implementation, 4 politics will start now. It has not started yet. I am not hearing. It will start. Academic politics will start. Somebody will say my course should get importance, my exam should be important, my credit should be more. Yes, I understand that. If less emphasis is there in a particular course, faculties they won't tell you, but they will feel that they will lose their job. Therefore, academic politics will start. This is a very sensitive issue. It should be handled properly, and we must work out on this, and they must be given assurance that they will not lose their job at any cost. They will be rehabilitated. They will be trained to do something else. Then it will take you forward. Otherwise, you will be stuck there only. Management politics will start. Financial autonomy. You are talking, I have to put my accounts in the website. I lose my hold. It's already there. I hear that. This politics will start because nobody wants to give away what is in their hand already. Everybody wants a key. Everybody wants a button. Everybody wants a bell. Regulatory politics will start. Bureaucracy and control. Because the new education policy says, give liberal, be liberate, autonomy. That's where the politics will start. Whom to give, whom not to give. If you say X should be given, somebody will say X doesn't deserve. All this will start. So we have to have a proper mechanism, written down document. Systematically, we are a democratic country. It should be inclusive. We must take everybody along. Bottom-up approach. We have to start from the bottom. Top-down approach, bottom-up approach. Everything has to be done. Otherwise, we will be lost in the bureaucracy. Governmental politics will start. It's already there. Party politics, power politics, state versus center. Already some states you might have read in the paper will not implement the new education policy. Especially the state governments where the BJP is not the ruling. They say, no, we will not implement the policy. So friends, ultimately it's going to be a mind game. What it is going to be? It's a mind game. Be ready to play this mind game. If teachers mind, they can and should lead the game for the benefit of all and show the way, taking all others along. This is the challenge for you. This is going to be a mind game. Be ready to play this mind game properly. We need that kind of leadership today. Education should be the winner in the end. Education should be the winner in the end, not individual institution. Ultimately, our pharmacy education should be the winner in the end. Our profession should be benefited. Our students should be benefited. Our institution should be benefited. Public should be benefited. Patients should be benefited. HESDARC is very keen to play this game and arrange or participate in 1 or 2 days workshop. According to me, this new education policy, there is a need for a half a day to 1 day thorough discussion and workshops on this for people to really understand what it is. Okay, I have written here 21 to 2030. I can share it with Ramesh because I am running short of time. I am supposed to close. Imbibe the tenets elucidated in the NEP after discussion in all institutions and states with SMART objectives. SMART objectives means I have written what is SMART. SMART is not physical smartness. SMART means specific. Sorry, this is not SMART again. It should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound objectives have to be written. SMART objectives, not I sit down and write. It is SMART. No, it should be specific, It should be measurable, it should be achievable, it should be relevant, and they should be time bound. List learning outcomes for each programs. We don't have. Let the colleges and universities propose the curriculum, yellows and assessment tools and techniques. Set competitive and level playing field for stakeholders, students, faculty and colleges to facilitate, not just regulate. Create a playground and live. Players will come on the stage and they will compete and play like a football, like a cricket. Just write broad guidelines. Implement PBL, TBL, Bloom's taxonomy and learning outcomes. PBL is problem-based learning, TBL is team-based learning, BT is Bloom's taxonomy, yellow is learning outcomes. You know POs, COs and PSOs. Program outcomes, course outcomes, program-specific outcomes. Change assessment and increase formative assessments and tools and techniques of assessment. At the end of the presentation, these are the things I had written. Already in the beginning, I have done my justice, I guess, in the next last 30 or 40 minutes. Thank you very much. This is my last suggestion. Be careful here. If you are a student, master students you are attending, ask and demand for more detailed discussion on NEP 2019. Ask what college, university and regulators will do. Don't just sit back and say, sir, this is the problem, that is the problem, I am not prepared, my college was this, my university was this. Sorry, sir, please tighten your belt and ask. If not anything, ask questions. If you are a faculty, ask and demand autonomy and empowerment to be flexible, innovative and creative as it is written down in the National Education Policy, not Nagavi saying. Ask and demand, sir, I want autonomy, empower me, I will do it and show it to you. Allow me in the university to design a new course. I will run the course. I will design the regulation. This is needed today. Industry wants it. Students want it. As an administrator, take lead and initiate dialogue at college level, university level, state level, board level, and demand discussion and plan of action. This is very important. POA, not just discussion. We are very good in discussion. What is the final plan of action at the end of the day? That is implementable. Okay? From the management university, if you are a management, initiate and promote healthy discussions and empower with accountability and upon autonomy. See, empower with accountability and autonomy systematically as it is laid down in the new education policy. If you are a regulator, please tighten the belt and discuss, debate and decide 5-year minimum action plan and provide autonomy to implement the national education policy. In the end, education should be the winner. In our context, in the end, pharmacy, education and practice should be the winner. With that note, thank you very much. I want to read this slide and read about it very carefully. This is what Usain Bolt said when he won the 10, he won in 9 seconds and won the Olympics gold. He said he trained for 4 years to run for 9 seconds. And many people ran for 2 months and they give up. Please think about that. So we are talking about new education policy. How many seconds you want to plan, how many months you want to plan, how many years you want to plan is up to you, my friends. It needs years of planning and implementation, replanning, implementation, replanning, implementation. Thank you very much for your silent hearing. I am done, Professor Subramaniam. Thank you very much to you, to your colleagues.
Thank you very much.
Ramesh and Jai.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just seeing.
I'm just stopping sharing.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is only a remark, eye-opener, it says. So as per Nagavi, now it is a good time for all integrated campuses,
Yes.
universities, or otherwise 4 or 5 colleges put together, come into a cluster and prepare that.
Exactly, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, we very rightly understood it.
So that we always say, no, always big is better.
That is true.
It should be big. Then only it will be, fruitful. Now, how you visualize this lifelong learning and its relevance to our colleges? I am talking about educational institutions.
Subramaniam, I have a small request. I will answer your question. I want to take a question from the students.
Students, yeah, just seeing the chart box. Who are the
Yeah,
people?
please read the questions from the, ask them to, the Kulkarni, ask the students
Yes,
to
sir.
type or raise their hand and
Yeah,
ask questions.
yeah.
I will take your question, Subramaniam, but I want to
No,
take some
no, no.
students' question. Yeah, Ramesh has a question. Yeah, if
Anything
you,
you can-
please go ahead.
No, sir, I don't have a question now. I have to attend one, at our university, we have research council meeting also, that is also
Yeah.
scheduled.
Okay.
Kindly, I request the host to permit me to leave this meeting, sir, kindly.
No, Ramesh, I have a small request and suggestion. See if you want to take one or two questions in the next 1 minute.
Yes,
No,
sir,
no,
yes, sir.
it's going,
Yeah, unless you want to run away, if you want to run because it's time is already over, it's up to you. But take at least one question. Anybody wants to ask Ramesh, go ahead. Otherwise, I will deal with it, no problem.
Yes, sir,
Because
yes,
you
sir.
made a wonderful presentation, 15-20 minutes. If somebody wants to ask, take one or two questions quickly. That's my request and suggestion.
I can stay for a couple of minutes or 1 or 2 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Any
teachers,
questions from students, M.Pharm students?
teachers also.
This is our
Because in
problem.
the chat box, I am unable to see any questions. There are no questions posted in the chat box. So if you people have anything, you can unmute yourself and ask the questions. Either students or faculty members.
Yeah. It is, I mean, questions are not there in the chat box, and we'll wait for a couple. Otherwise, because it is 12:38 or so, so otherwise we'll pass on the questions at a later period. But we
Okay.
will sometime now.
Yeah, let Professor Ramesh leave the.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Right, right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, in the absence of the question, can I take Subramaniam your question only so that initiate?
Yes, sir.
No, I will start discussion on that, but I have a suggestion, Kulkarni and Subramaniam, identify one or two good students of yours, master students, and ask them you have to ask a question. This is what I used to do there. Force them to ask a question. I know it's not easy to ask a question, you have to listen.
That is
But
true,
let them
sir.
ask a question, don't hesitate. We are all one family.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. A young
Yes.
family member asking a very senior family member, what is this, what is that? No problem. Even if it is a small rudimentary question, I will answer that. Okay. Subramaniam,
Yes.
to answer your question. Hello?
Oh, yes, yes. Tell me.
You asked about how to make a student lifelong learner, correct?
Yes.
No,
There are two ways of doing it, sir. Number one, in the regulation, in your curriculum, there must be one important thing. It is internationally, it is there, what is called as self-directed learning, 1 hour to 2 hours per week. 1 minute, I have to take this call. 1 minute.
right, okay.
Go ahead. So there must be a change in the structure of your regulation of the university. Number one, you have to include what is called as self-directed learning, SDL. Student will learn on their own. They will identify what is their learning need. They will talk to somebody. They will talk to faculty. They will go to library. They will do whatever they want. Self-directed learning. He will sit in a corner and prepare his lab report. He will prepare some assignment. He will ask her, this is self-direct, this is the first stage of learning, making them a lifelong learner. Number two, in the again timetable, there must be at least 1 hour, 2 hours of library hours. Library hours. I don't see this, and I was doing all this in the international, that's why I'm telling you. There is to be 2 hours of SDL, 2 hours of library, and there is 2 hours of academic advising. I'm not touching that. That's a different discussion altogether. So in the library hours, initial stages, when the student is in the first year, he is taken to the library for 1 hour per week, once or twice in the beginning. These are my books. They are kept here. They are in the library. This is my textbook. This is my reference book. This gives you this. This gives you that. Introduce that. You are given, I have seen syllabuses where 25 books are given. Out of them, 23 are not available in the library. These are the realities. No, you have to write in the curriculum only that which can be made available. In our university, the policy was you have to write only that in the curriculum which is available, and you have to divide the books into two categories. One is a textbook, another one is a reference book.
Reference books.
Textbook should be made available in the ratio of 1:4 or 1:6. Reference book should be made available in the ratio of 1:8 or 1:10. This is the international standard. So take them to the library, tell them this, tell them that. Then you tell like the current semester or year, this book I have already shown you. You go and read there. Motivate them.
We have started it, sir. Actually,
Huh?
this time we have started it, sir. We have put library hours in the timetable officially, and we are taking the students. But now,
How many hours per week? How many hours per week?
It is actually for first years 1 hour per week we have made it, sir.
No, do that for all the years, please.
Yeah, for everybody.
Do
one
it
hour
also
we have
for the
made.
master students. They need more. They have to learn on their own. Not spoon feeding and all. Pedagogy is gone. When you come to university, there is no pedagogy.
That's true.
Unfortunately, everybody is stuck in that pedagogy only.
Yeah.
Yeah. What we talk is andragogy.
Yes.
That is authorized learner, self-directed learner, self-motivated learner, assisted learner. We have
Yes.
forgotten all that. Okay, sir. Number one, do self-directed learning, library. Then introduce problem-based learning and team-based learning.
Yes.
That will make them start thinking, critical thinking, problem solving.
Actually, about this also, sir. When I was in Gwalior, in ITM University, I had introduced in pharmacy this PBL,
Okay.
problem-based learning, and including all the subjects in one particular semester, we used to give them some problem, and the students were doing that experiment and they were learning. It got a very good response from the students also earlier.
I know. I should congratulate you for that, but you have done it as an individual.
Yes, sir. That's
You are
true.
interested in that. No, we have to go beyond that now. Now you are a principal of a college. It has to be a system. You have to make a structure, change the regulation, rules book, incorporate that PBL, 6 lines. It will be there.
There
in
I
every
had
semester.
included in the syllabus also, sir.
No, please listen to me.
Yeah.
It should carry marks.
Yeah,
Without marks, nobody will be serious.
that's
There
true.
will be an assessment for that. It should
Yes.
carry marks. It should become a part of the overall assessment.
Yes.
Then everybody will be serious. That is another way of making student a lifelong learner.
Do you remember Nagavi? In
Ah.
Pilani, there is no syllabus framing. See, syllabus is only 4-5 lines in BITS Pilani.
Yeah.
From then, now also.
Correct, but now you know too many universities, too many colleges.
Too many
Some
colleges.
structure is necessary. And the last and very important thing that to make a lifelong learner is a structured syllabus incorporating learning outcomes. Program specific outcomes, course specific outcomes, and chapter specific outcomes, and lecture specific outcomes. We have to train people to do that. Then it becomes, very focused, and ultimately they should become problem solvers. You will see when the students learn in the first year, second year, there is difficulty. When they come to third and fourth year, they become independent learners. I'm telling you with experience of implementing this, and they will automatically become motivated to become a lifelong learner. Whether he becomes or not, it is ultimately an individual choice.
Yes, yes.
If you are that
That is true.
nobody can teach you.
How can we do outcome? Outcome verification will become difficult.
Exactly. It will motivate.
Back to that.
Yes. Okay. I hope I have answered your question, Subramaniam.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other question, please?
No. No more questions in the chat box, sir.
Maybe, people are wanting to go and have their lunch.
Yeah. But for sir, I think, shall we, I take the...
There is one, sir, some Karthik. Some person has raised hand.
Yeah, please unmute him. Please unmute him, sir.
Karthik Limat.
Yeah, please.
You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Karthik, unmute yourself and ask. Try at your end, Kulkarni.
I'm trying that, sir. Actually, but
Otherwise, you ask him to put in the chat box.
Yeah, if you don't want to ask, you can put in the chat box.
No, he has raised a hand. Obviously,
Yeah,
he will
he
be
has
able
raised
to
a
talk,
hand.
but I think some technology issue is there, either with him or with you. Please sort it out.
Hmm.
In the meantime, Karthik, please type your question in the chat box. Go ahead and type the question. 1 line, 2 line, no issues. I will take that and.
1 minute, sir. Sir, actually, he is unable to unmute himself. I am doing it, sir.
Please do that. Please do that.
Yeah, 1 second, sir.
Pope Subramaniam, I have done justice to the job you have given me.
Happy. Yes, sir. All the topics which were not touched upon earlier, all of them are relevantly touched upon. You have a good administrative, I heard.
No. I have worked on this for the last 6 months, 1 year. I have been working and making PowerPoints of my own, reading. I have got a printout of the 500-page book. I have got printout with me here. I'm sitting myself here.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yes, any other student, this is our problem. They hesitate to ask questions. Students should come forward and ask.
Yeah.
Please cultivate that habit of asking questions. I know you will be doing it, but somehow I don't know why they are hesitant to ask questions. Is there anything in the chat box?
No, nothing is.
Opening presentation. Okay. Professor Nair, sir, in the meantime, are you there, Professor Nair? I see
Yes,
your eye-opening presentation, Reflections of Issues in Higher Education, Pharmacy Education in the Context of NEP 2020. Nair, you can add some point. We have time, 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay, I will ask him to put question. That's all.
If you have his number, why don't you call him and ask him? Are you talking to him? Ask his question on phone and ask me.
Yeah, I am asking him to question on phone only, sir. Now.
And put the phone on the mic, near the mic, it will.
Hello. Actually, we are unable to unmute. There is some problem. So you can ask the question on phone.
No, you listen to him and then tell us, no problem.
Yeah, I will listen to him and I will ask the question. Yeah, please repeat it. Okay. Okay.
So in that they have mentioned a lot of patents in China and we are lacking patents.
Okay.
So rather government working on that IP and all, why can't they put focus here?
About patents.
When learning is not in the right way, how we can expect patent? It is like building investment into the building the everything into the space.
Yeah.
I am able to hear his voice. Please ask him to talk from the beginning.
That way. So,
yeah.
What is the education policy's role in that?
Sir, he is asking question about the role of education NEP 2020 in IPR. Because now universities, colleges, they are stressing more on patents without giving proper foundation knowledge and all. What is the fun of putting pressure to patent? Okay.
I will try to do my best and answer that. See, filing patents, you have to do research. Okay. To do research, you need facilities, and research is not everybody's cup of tea.
Yes.
You have to understand that. So therefore, we have to categorize teaching and research for the purpose of this separate.
Yeah.
So there must be some institutions which are, as it is given in the NEP only, teaching focused institutions. They are more focused on diploma education and undergraduate education. to some extent on postgraduate education, but emphasis was more on teaching. And research institutions and universities which it has identified with their autonomous or independent research universities, obviously they have to be guided. As I said, the current structure doesn't provide for this kind of a system at all. That is true. So therefore, we need to do major structural changes in our curriculum designing. We have to design need-based curriculum at the diploma level and at the undergraduate level. We have to do the need analysis first of all, and graded manner meet the NEP requirements and diploma degree in a fashion, and there must be a chapter or there must be a elective course on IPR, patenting and associated things. Maybe you can combine research with that, you can combine publication with that, you can combine certification with that, ranking with that, whatever you want to do, because that itself may not be a full-fledged course. In my opinion, easily it can be a full-fledged course of 1 credit to start with. One hour lecture per week, and for 1 semester, 15 lectures on IPR, especially at the, if possible, at the undergraduate level, 3rd year or 4th year as a one small elective. And there are a lot of competent people. Those who are interested, let them take that course. Train them.
Yes.
They will be the future IPR leaders. They are interested in that. Instead of teaching everybody, offer a course, 1 credit, enough. If you feel that it's not enough, I know majority will tell you, sir, 1 hour per semester for 15 weeks is not enough. Okay, increase it to 2, bring in practical experience in there. Bring in how the patents are filed in India, how international patents are filed in America, South Africa, here, there. Everything you bring there, new drug entity, how the filing of the new molecules also happens, which will help the students. Because to know, to file a new patent, you should know what is already patentable and what is patented. Many times it happens that you struggle for years, then you realize that somebody has already filed a patent.
Yeah.
It's doable and it's very essential. Internationally it is done. It must be done. And I have given you some hints and cues.
And actually what I tell is, everything, all these things need not be specified in the syllabus. It can be as a self-learning material. People should be encouraged rather than asking everything in the syllabus is a very tough job. And all these years in India, the name and fame of an institution is mainly based on research only. It is not graduate.
No, that is correct, Subramaniam. But the point is, if you say individually you must be flexible and you should give autonomy to them.
Yes, yes.
Ultimately, it has to come on the structure.
Yes.
You have to have a provision in the structure, because in the new university NEP there are different kinds of courses that you have to offer. But time we have not discussed all that. There must be, as it was in BITS Pilani, there must be compulsory courses. There was professional courses, optional courses. Then there are optional course you offer.
Yes,
Optional electives, free electives, compulsory electives. You see, you divide them and let an institution offer, let a university offer. Because unless it is offered, it is not trained. It is very difficult to expect. At least if it is not possible at the undergraduate level, definitely it must be done at the master's level. I am saying undergraduate level, 1 credit course is not a problem, sir. 15 lectures in a semester, let everybody be encouraged. Then at the master's level, you go more deep, because he is already exposed to 1 credit course there. Remove some unwanted things and incorporate, because that's a very important question. It's a competitive world today. They will look at you if you have one patent. A situation will come now. They will ask you at the time of interview, do you have a patent? You say, do you have a patent? If you say, sir, I don't have a patent, then say, sit aside. There are people waiting with patents. It was a good question. Congratulations, Karthik. Work on that. Keep asking this question to everybody.
Okay, sir. Shall we? Kulkarni, sir?
Sir?
Any more questions?
No more questions, sir.
Nagavi, sir?
Yes, sir.
We will share if any questions are there further with you.
Please.
I'll
I'll be glad to share my experience or whatever it is.
Thank you very much. This is third time you have come to our college and see the structure and all those things. Very nice, and you have today shared your thoughts with our new education policy. We are indeed very happy. thankful to you, sir. And we also thank all the participants who have joined us in this very, important activity, and to get some inputs as to how we have to go ahead. Thank you, every one of you. Thank you, Giriraj Kulkarni.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Wish you all a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Good day. Nice
you, sir.
future ahead for all of you. God bless you all, you and your students and your institution.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Yeah. I'll sign off here. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, sir.
Bye, sir. Bye.